Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, a very special Talking Dogs on a Monday as we are looking back at the opening round of the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. It may be later in the year, but some things never change. The Derby just brings around brilliance, and we did have plenty of that over Friday and Saturday night. 26 heats in all. To be honest, it's impossible to touch on those 26 heats. We will do our best to get into most of those that got through and whatnot, but just with the logistics involved, we could be here all day talking about them. Certainly, Kevin never shuts up, so we'll keep him to a minimum. And as regards the exile dub, well, he talks a lot as well. On the other hand, I'll just be in and out. Let's get straight into it, gentlemen. A cracking derby, Kevin. I spoke to you for a long time over the weekend. We did 45 minutes, I think, on Friday and 40 minutes on Saturday. Let's keep it a bit tighter today. Just a brilliant opening round, some fantastic performances. From a personal point of view, your father would be more than happy with his team.
Yeah, look, we from Black and Amber Racing point of view, we had a great week. Three winners, and we only had four in it, and all four managed to get through to the next round. So yeah, over the moon with them all. Obviously, of our contingent, Boyle Sports Bob will probably grab the headlines. He was definitely quickest of our team on the clock, and probably visually the most impressive along with it. So, but yeah, no, like dynamic force. His first run back in Dublin after a couple of spins in Cork, and JT Craze having his first run in 5 or 6 weeks since the 600, and obviously Diego again having his first race since the Puppy Derby final. So like our team we were quite easy on the Ford and building up into it, and yeah, it's always a little, you'd always be a little bit nervous that they're not a little bit underprepared. But so for the four of them to go through and have three winners was fantastic. And then I suppose just from the Boyle Sports perspective and an overview, unbelievable, really, really unbelievable. Like you've got the brothers march on Freddie and Buckos Diamond. You got the sensation that is Bombay Pat, and then you throw in the likes of the laddie da who the more I thought about it, like the more impressed I was with him because he done an awful lot of things wrong. And the night that happens, you want to just keep your name in the hat, and he did it. So yeah, can't wait for next Friday and Saturday night, and plenty to look back on this podcast.
Yeah, Tommy, like Kevin spoke of his own team. He also mentioned the Derby overall. One team that certainly will be happy is the Riverside Kennels team because they saw Buckos Diamond, the Derby favourite, and a huge amount of pressure on him, going into this opening. Well, not on him, but the those connected with him and Bombay Pat. And Bombay Pat in the last heat on the Friday night, but two tremendous performances there on the Friday evening. They had other impressive winners, but I think it's fair to say the Buckos Diamond is a deserving Derby favourite.
Yeah, I think he probably is because the beauty of it is that there's more to work on. He didn't come out that well. Had to show, his early pace to clear them. It's going to get tougher. There's plenty of early dash in us. Um, it might take a couple of rounds to tighten up enough to kind of know where we stand with those sort of dogs. The likes of himself and March on Freddie and the dogs that kind of we assume, although maybe not with March on Freddie, that they have to be in front reasonably early to go on to win a heat, or especially at this sort of level. It's going to take a couple of rounds to tighten up that way. I think it is because I think there are a good few very good, very fast dogs, a lot of early pace. I was massively impressed by Carrick Aldo even along though. I thought that was a huge performance for a dog that I didn't have down as a Derby dog. I know Barry Call mentioned on here about 3 or 4 months ago that he backed him to win the Derby. And you know what? I wouldn't have backed him. I still wouldn't back him. But I was massively impressed by the performance. There were loads of performances like that we'll talk about over the next hour or so.
Yeah, indeed. Um, yeah, let's get into it. Let's start on Friday night. We're just going to do the highlights on Friday night, and then we may touch on any other business, anything else you want to mention. Obviously, the first heat was won by Braymore Dice, but we'll start with the aforementioned Buckos Diamond. Didn't take a flyer, flew into the opening corner, 1685. You know, that's right up there, with the very, very best. And, Coulivanny Hoffa a couple of years ago did a 1680. I think Susie Sapphire did around a 1680, 82 maybe. Last year, the other Kobe, I think his fastest run in the Derby was 1683. They're the type of dogs you're talking about. Going back to the likes of New Inn Taylor and Pastana, they were touching around the 1680s. I think the fastest that I can remember is New Inn Taylor. I think he did a 1679 on one occasion. Like this fellow leaves the length of boxes comfortably, flies up into the corner, takes it up with ease, goes clear, just coasts home in 29-23. It was just the perfect start, Kevin, for the Derby favourite.
Yeah, look, I think I'd say if all them runs that you spoke about, if you were to put them all on level going, I'd say the one we watched on Friday night was probably the quickest of them all, including the night that New Taylor did his run, because I've no doubt in my mind that the track was easily slower Friday, probably even comparing in comparison to Saturday, let alone what when them dogs were running in the months of August and September. So I would confidently say that I'd say that run of Buckos Diamond the other night was probably the fastest run we've ever seen to the third bend. If everything was level. The one thing I would say is, when you say leaving a length at the boxes, like you can say that about, I suppose, about a brilliant trapper or a dog who's brilliant every night at the boxes, but that's him. Like,
Yeah.
like it's not like I'd be adding on that length because that was just a thing that he did on Friday night, and we know that he'll get that right most nights. He can step from boxes. It's never been his trapping that's given him the early. It's his brute speed when his four legs hit the floor. So he can give away that length at the boxes. And Tommy mentioned in his intro there that it might take us a couple of weeks till we see these battles. We're going to see it this weekend. Like he's got a tasty draw, like Carrick Aldo directly inside him. Like if he misses that length at the boxes and Carrick Aldo starts, it's going to be a long way to get around him. Like Carrick Aldo will be flying into the corner as well. So look, as runs go on Friday night, it was a breathtaking performance, and he's a worthy Derby favourite.
Yeah, Tommy, Kevin said it all there. I'm not in full agreement now, to be honest. I think the track was going well on Friday night. Last year in the Derby, 17 seconds was only broken twice. It was broken three times on Friday night alone. The likes of Carrick Aldo and Bombay Pat, and you are talking about dogs with serious early speed, no question about it. For three dogs to break 17 seconds in the first night, I think it was going okay.
I got the impression the same as Kevin was coming out with, to be honest about it, and that's only from not being there, obviously, but just watching the racing. I got the same impression that it was slightly slower on Friday night. Not a huge amount, but the track changes a lot during the night. I mean, I'm struggling to think that Ballymac has run with 29.82. That's that sort of stuff, which looked a lot better than that. Buckos Diamond, Kevin's right. Buckos Diamond's never been about breaking. Even the nights, what's always impressed most is when you have something else to kind of gauge you against. And when he was able to do what he was doing to Broadstrand Sid, who's the exceptional dog, who might have improved obviously since, and his runs in Dundalk were exceptional. But when you have something like that, you can look and say, "Oh God, he was able to show the pace, pass him down to the third bend." That's where you say, "Geez, that's phenomenal early pace or phenomenal pace to the third bend." More, it's not about coming out of boxes with him. It hasn't been so far. Like we saw on this, was it his last run? When he beat Seven Beach the head by a head or so, or short. Was it that run? He missed the
It was
kick
just,
completely and showed massive.
it's now his third last run.
His third last run, he missed the kick. Then they had a great buckle one there, but he missed the kick. Sorry, the next night, and he showed huge pace and tracking ability. But you won't get away with that in the Derby. You do that, and you're likely knocked out. Let's be honest about it. That's the way it'll be in the Derby. What I would say, if you want to take a positive from it, a real positive from it, it's the fact that the 29-23, and I know you're saying the track is going well, that it's a huge step up on what he had shown in the two nights previously. So it's a sign, a bit like what Kevin was saying about his team, where they kind of taking a slowly approach. I know Buckos Diamond had two runs recently, but he had very little before that. He had a good break before that, and he's entitled to step forward again. So I'm in full agreement with Kevin. That's the way I felt about it, because I was going to ask you about it to talk about this other than just the heats, about the track and how it was
I
running. Because
I
I
I
actually
I I would suggest that the track was running okay, but the times and the clocks certainly are maybe a fraction slower because it was cold and it was breezy and it was wind and there was a big wind into their face up the home straight, and maybe that's why the likes of Bombay Pat, like we haven't talked about him yet, but you saw his stride shortening considerably up the home straight. That sort of way. Maybe that's the cold rather than the actual track itself.
and if that's the case, then Buckets Diamond was a monster performance.
Yeah, it was a monster performance.
He's more
I,
likely to
I
be
think I,
to be
I
to
think
be
we'll all
slow.
I think we'll all agree in that
He's
it was a
but he's
monster
more likely
performance.
he's more likely to be shortening the stride close home, that on the evidence of what we've seen in the last few weeks now.
Yeah, no, Buckos Diamond, sensational performance, no question about it. He definitely has a Derby profile. That's the one thing about it. He's the type of dog that you've been looking for, to win a Derby over the last 4, 5, 6 years. That's the type of dog we look for. The dog with that brute early speed that gets to the line and that can do a 29-20. When, as we said, like Kevin said there about his own team going in, you hope that you don't have them undercooked. Well, Baco's time is certainly not undercooked, but I'd say he's not overcooked either. I think there's probably still better to come from him. Let's jump ahead to Heat 13. We'll come back then into some of the middle heats because we'll almost do it in time order. And Bombay Pat in Heat 13. A lot of similarities, Tommy. We'll start with you. He left even more in the traps than Buckos Diamond, but certainly, like Kevin said about Buckos Diamond, that's him though, and that is Bucko
Yeah.
or that is Bombay Pat. He is yet to come out of traps. But since we've seen him in Shelbourne Park, when you give him room, my God, he can absolutely move through those gears. Like I remember you being in the commentary box with me one night when Coulivanny Hoffa ran. And that's the second time I've
Mm.
referenced Hoffa, but it's for a reason. Like this fellow, when he got into full stride, like it was like my jaw was nearly dropping in commentary the way he ran into the opening corner. And he probably had to face more early speed or more quality in his heat than Buckos Diamond did. He ragged them to the opening bend and to the third bend.
He, he did, but I actually think the runner up ran very well, Cameron King. He did, but he doing what he's been doing all along, and like again, looking ahead, you'd say his 346 was, even though it's not brilliant, it's a step up on what he'd produced in his previous runs here, and that's what you want. You want to see a little bit of progress because it's going to get tougher, and he is definitely, like, even more so than Bachner's Diamond. He's definitely not a trapper. That's the, I mean, look at his runs in Cork as well. I mean, where it's really sharp test. He's doing 342, 340, 338. They're fine, but they're about 10 spots off kind of top class, or 12 spots off top class. He's improved since then, and he can improve again. But I don't think we're going to see him doing 335 in if that's possible in
Yeah.
Shelbourne at the moment.
It was a 333 done and a 336 done. We'll get
Yeah.
to them. Um, Kevin, I think I said it to you, off air the other evening. He's the sort of dog you could see him doing a 2070 at Dundalk with his eyes closed.
Yeah, he's a freak. Let's call it what it is. He's just a freak. I was there in Kilkenny tonight. He had his first race, and I don't know what happened. He just didn't
I
come out
think
of the trap.
first race might be a wrong way of describing it. He just peeped out and went, nope,
Yeah, he
that
just
was it.
never came. He just never came out of. He never came out of the traps. It was bizarre. But since then, like the runs he was doing in Cork, they were sensational. Like he was giving away ground and breaking 28 seconds, and you're just like, what? And then he comes up to Shelbourne, and with every run, he's just improved and impressed me further. And I thought what he did to a very good field the other night to the corner was just hard to believe, to be honest. Like you've got the likes of Carmack King there and other high class dogs, and next thing you just see this dog go by, and I think you said it in our review after the race, and it was like they were stuck in quicksand, and it's not, they weren't far off that. Like, it was just breathtaking. I think probably got even he's definitely up there with the likes of Buckos Diamond and Carrick Aldo for brute early speed of what's left. And it might come down to which one of them traps the best, because there's very little to choose between them. I know Bombay Pat's probably a bit more value in the anti-post book, and as I said to you in the review, I'd have no problem putting, or if I could take a dog out of the Derby that isn't in the kennel already, he'd definitely be the one I'd be looking for.
Yeah, no, brilliant performance. As you both said, Carmack King actually ran well in defeat, and he seems to be slowly recapturing the type of summer form that he was showing. Like there was a point in the year where I thought, like, this dog could easily be Derby favourite. You know what I mean? And obviously he picked up a little niggle, but he's recently returned to a 28-11 trial, and then. Forget about his comeback run on October 12th. The other night was far better from Carmack King, and I have no doubt there is better to come from him. Let's jump back a little bit on the same card. We'll do Fridays first, then on to Saturday. We have to mention Carrick Aldo. He was next fastest with that 29.42 return in Heat 4. David Murray, you get the impression that it's been the plan. I think they entered him in a 550 earlier in the year. He didn't actually take his place in it, but This was his first start over 550 yards, 340, 1692. He had a kind draw. Like there was a lot of early speed in this race in comparison to maybe the other two that we've mentioned. But again, he was just so professional, just went up straight. Evolution was edging inwards. He didn't get his flyer, which he can. Check for Cash stepped off from trap one, took a bumper to himself. Thought here he ran very, very well in defeat for Carl Ramsbottom. But Carrick Aldo, Kevin, it was like for a dog having his first 550-yard sort of contest, you'd go, yeah, lovely. Let's move on. Great display. Obviously, you've spoken of he gets Buckos Diamond the next night, but he's definitely drawn the right side of him.
Yeah, he is, and he's definitely, if you had the likes of Buckos Diamond and Bombay Pat, there's really two dogs you want to avoid. That's Carrick Aldo and Tribal Sid. Like those are the two you don't want to be drawn outside of either of those two dogs. And obviously themselves, like you don't want the two dogs in together either, Bombay Pat and Buckos Diamond. But it's going to make for great viewing. It really, really is. It's going to be a fantastic race. Like that heat itself. Can't remember everything that's in it, but it's an absolute corker. So really whets the appetite for next week. But yeah, look, I thought Carrick Aldo, we know what he is. He's so professional. I've always felt the 550 would suit him better than the 5 to 5 in Shelbourne because it's not the 25 yards coming home. It's 25 yards going on the run to the bend. And this is the Sprint Cup. He loves the 400 in Dundalk. Like he's made for it. And the longer run up will suit him down to the ground. And he saw it out strongly. He wasn't weakening coming to the line. Yeah, can't wait for next week. And Barry and the rest of those that have backed him anti-post will be delighted because he can't have been much more impressed than he already is.
Yeah, Tommy, you're a long time admirer.
Ah, yeah, he's a terrific dog. What a dog to own. The likes of Carrick Aldo. I loved his performance. It was thoroughly professional. I would say if you backed him anti-post or you were interested in your connections of him, you would thought it was the perfect run. And the thing is, he needs to produce it obviously for another 5 weeks. But it was just beautiful. Everything about it was right. He kept his perfect line going up. He ran the bends well. He did his usual middle to wide course down the back. He ran as Kevin said, and this was impressed me most is that he wasn't stopping off the last bend. I liked it. I thought he was striding out really well to the thing. The some of the firms had
Well,
priced it up.
like it actually surprised me afterwards when I was doing it 4 lengths because I got the impression the check for cash was a lot closer at one point around the third and fourth bends. So he did stay it out strongly.
He did. No, he definitely did. It looked on the video as if he was kicking a bit, kicked on again, reached out. He certainly wasn't slowing down as far as I could make out. He did a 1592, puts him a length behind Buckos Diamond. But obviously, when you're trapped and you have to go around the dog, that length gets lost very quickly. This could be a real buckle. This could be a bit like uh, Buckos Diamond and Seven Beach from a few weeks ago. Have you? I don't know if you've priced the heats yet, Kevin. I just see some of the firms have priced the heats 2 to 5 Buckos Diamond, 3 to 1 Carrick Aldo. And I'm not sure I want to take the 2 to 5. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Antonio Charlie's in there, in good time. Scooby
He's
the Boss,
Yeah.
Ballymac Gizmo. Yeah, we'll touch upon that later. We'll touch upon a couple of the hotter heats. Yeah, Carrick Aldo, mighty impressive. Check for Cash, I thought ran a big race in second spot as well. Let's step back one there. Kapuka Warrior, good winner for Carl Ramsbottom, 29.55. Kevin, you're a fan of this dog, hard not to be, but you regularly see him winning in Kilkenny. I've seen him in Kilkenny. I've seen him in Shelbourne Park numerous times too. You give him the red jacket, he's happy. He's in red again the next night.
He is, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people nibbling away at him again because I think he's got a great chance of following up again next week. Can't remember the full draw he has the next night, but I remember looking at it going another good race from. He could be a nice price in it. He's drawn red and he's more than capable of picking them up, getting a good start and dominating from the front again. But he's just a wonderful dog. He really is. Like Tommy often mentions dogs that just must be a dream to own, and he's another one. Like it doesn't matter Shelbourne, Kilkenny. If he's drawn close to the fence, there's nothing spectacular that he does. He's a good trapper with some good early, good down the back, and if he's in a position to hang on and he smells victory, he very rarely leaves it behind. So, and Carl has the dogs flying there at the moment. So I really hope he can keep going another few rounds, but he was very impressive on Friday night.
Yeah, we'll jump on to Heat 5. Tommy, Seven Beach and a Lucky Julie, both impressive. Seven Beach, as I said to Kevin the other night, had to win it twice. He had to firstly get
Yeah.
the better of the early battle with Droopy's Metaphor. For him to lead Droopy's Metaphor that's a fair yardstick. Droopy's Metaphor is sensational early speed, and then had to contain the Lucky Julie, who like in terms of eye catchers of the round, she's right up there. Big performance by first and second. and third.
Yeah, seven beach. Yeah, seven beach. In fairness, to take it up only at the second bend, you think maybe might leave him a little bit vulnerable. And a lucky Julie coming back after a break, and it was June since she ran. I mean, we were talking about her. It feels like 2 years ago. It's not. It's mostly last year. We talked about a lucky Julie a lot. A phenomenal finishing pace, and you'd think that when that's the first run for a while, she's entitled to improve a nice bit on it. But Seven Beach will improve on that too. We'll get races. Sorry, he'll get races where he'll be able to get around and dominate early and do with 29-20. Is he 29-18 on the clock already? I think.
He does, yeah. I'd say Jennifer, like this is. I'd say she's delighted. I was told by someone, it wasn't Jennifer now, but I was told by someone that he was very tired after that buckle with Buckos Diamond, and it showed in the final the week later. So
Yeah.
he'd been given the fortnight off, comes back the other evening, runs great, just does everything right. I'd say she's more than pleased in her continued search for three in a row.
Amazing.
We'll move forward. Kevin, we'll just let you briefly speak of JT Gray's and Dynamic Force. You've already mentioned it too. JT Gray's is such a strong runner. So when he popped out like that, you're going, lovely, happy days. It took him a while to get rolling, but when he hit that third bend in front, forget about it. Kicks again, 29.63, a world of improvement to come from him. And Dynamic Force, like he had no right to lead into the back straight from where he was on the opening corner. My God, he runs some corner, doesn't he? Like that tail is so off-putting, and yet he is such a fluent bend runner. The
Mhm.
tail, as we've discussed in the past, it was just something that happened to him as a pup, and it is kinked. There's nothing you could do about it. But I'll tell you one thing: he is a fluent mover.
Yeah, no, look, it is what it is. It caught my attention obviously the first time I ever saw him too, but he came with it to us like that, and it was broken as a pup, and he uses it that way going up in and out of paddocks, and he's as exuberant going in and out of the paddocks as he is when he comes out of the boxes. So you can imagine what it's like. But look, he's a wonderful dog, and the Kennedys done a fantastic job with him. They told me about him going into the Red Mills. They thought he was quite good, and actually, you should look it up now. I made reference to this on the review the other night, but you should look up the first round heat of that Red Mills and see that heat, because I remember thinking back, it must be it. I'd safely say it potentially could go down as the greatest ever unraced first race of all time when these dogs are finished. And because there's obviously a long way into their career to go, but the Kennedys done a great job for him. He was drawn the inside, and he used that tail that way, and he wasn't fluent on the bend that night now, but since then and what he's done up in Dundalk and in Cork and now in Dublin, he's just improved and improved and improved and improved, and who knows where this journey will end, but hopefully there's a couple more rounds left in him, and on the craze dog, we know what he's capable of. Maiden Derby finalist, Ledger finalist. Once he gets a clean run, we all know his Achilles heel, it's trapping. He trapped brilliantly the other night. And in fairness to the dog, he's been a bit more consistent, I think, this year, a lot more consistent at the boxes this year. He hasn't done a big fluff, which I'm touching wood he won't do going forward, but he has been that bit more consistent. And if you give this dog space and a clear run, it doesn't really matter what's in with him. He's as quick as a lot of them. So very happy with both runners on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. That first race that he ran in, who's behind a dog called Buckos Diamond and a Broadstrand Sid, not a bad pair.
Yeah,
Clona Stand, was Hogan's Stand at the time, of
yeah.
course. Julie's Gem and Toolmaker Note. It was a fair first start, all right.
Mm.
I want to talk about one or two of the slower heat winners, but Tarzan Massai certainly deserves a good mention, Tommy. This is a greyhound who ran so well around Shelbourne Park in recent times, having really hit form sort of in September. He won a couple of races around Limerick, including a 27.97 return. He's an 81, 82 pounder. He just looks like he's made for Shelbourne Park at 550 yards. He's a wide seed. He has a bit of everything. As I said to Kevin the other night, you often refer to these types of dogs as the Mal Brandies of this world. He just does everything right. Just a really nice, powerful, fluent mover. Jeff Parnaby is getting a sweet tune out of him.
Yeah, I really liked him the September 28th run. I just really liked everything about the performance that night. He's a proper dog. I think again another dog that I actually think like the 29.52 is a lot lower than or is a lot worse than what he can do and will do. I think he's a serious dog. Just come back just for 1 second, just back to Dynamic Force because he's one of my old favorites. I love the fact that he was able to lead as early as he did, because he didn't break again and showed massive early pace. But the night he did 28.09 in Curraheen Park, having missed a kick, I thought this is a dog that's going to mature a lot, because
Yeah.
I had assumed that he was going to be a dog that was going to flash out. You know, when you go from the sprinting to top, and like as deep a bar one sprint as I can remember in terms of depth of quality throughout the competition, to be able to go to the bend with the best of those, having again not flying out of the box. I thought now he'll dominate when he goes over four bends, and he didn't. And the night he did 28 on nine in Curry, and I thought, right, this is even better than I thought. So whether he's up to win the Derby at the moment, I doubt it. He's not for me in that sense, but I think he's going to improve again for next year, and that's
Yeah.
why I'd be following beyond this. I love that performance. I'd like to see him go a long way in the competition too.
I think the 550 run up is going to be the key to him. I think he's really enjoying it. Even the other night, like he was there right on the corner, but again, he should be squeezed out of it, and he just runs the most
Yeah,
remarkable
yeah.
corner. Getting back to Tarzan Massai, Tommy, you referred to it earlier on, a 333.
Mm.
That's lightning fast. If he continues to trap like that, and like he can't do a 333 every night, but even if he's only a length slower, like as his worst, like he's going to be a player. 1703 to the third bend. He just does everything right, as we said. They're going to get a bit of sport out of him. A bubbly shadow ran very well in second spot. Obviously, was formerly known as Merritt's Inclusion, the Kirby Memorial runner-up for Brendan Matthews, now owned jointly, I believe, by the Champagne Club. Callaway Kinnegar, we have to give him a mention, Tommy. He's been, favoured or second favourite for the Derby for a long, long time now, and he's been sort of well and truly unshipped from that sort of mantle. He's now about fifth or sixth in the market, a much bigger price than he was. Two defeats in a row. It's just the fact that it's the manner of the defeats that just it's going to be into the corner where his problems arise. Like he probably had no right to even qualify the other night from where he was, given the dogs that were in front of him. But his power got him through. He's going to need to sharpen up.
Look, he did well to qualify because he didn't make a mistake, but he checked outside off the last bend where it could have been like if he slightly stumbled there, as they can often do when they're checking across the back of a dog, slightly stumbled there and he's out of the competition. He's going to have to turn a bit closer. He'll sharpen up. He will. But I tell you, like when he was down to about 8-1 to win the Derby, you're kind of going, yeah, we know he's got phenomenal pace, but you don't get a, you're not going to get away with it every week. He's going to have his problem is he's going to have to sharpen up quickly. It's going to have to be next week when things get a little bit tougher. And the week after, certainly, if he qualifies past next week, it's going to get much tougher, and you just won't get away with that, despite the fact that he has remarkable ability.
Yeah,
He's if you back them or if your connections of him, you are just hoping for qualification every night for the moment, and let him pick up and improve at each run. Because in a final, put him in one in the final, and he's got a great chance. Because he could, if provided he gets a clear run of some sort, you're not going to lead around when you have the likes of Tarzan Massai there, or you have a Buckos Diamond, or you have a March on Freddy, or you have loads of dogs there that have tremendous hair, cheap sandwiches, Bombay Pat, all these sorts of dogs that are going to go around probably in front most nights. So look at he was odds on the other night. I don't know that. I'd like to know what sort of way the market was. Was there
they're
was there
in
much
the
interest in him?
in industry prices. I'm not sure he was a short. Like the industry prices, what you do notice on certainly with the English angle coming in, that like the short ones are ridiculously short, and the bigger ones are
Okay.
ridiculously big. It just seems to be a feast or a famine with them. Like, you know what I mean? It's like there was prices there. Like there's dogs like the Laddie Dows are trying 5 to 1 on. 5 to 1 on.
Yeah.
What? I think
Dog
I'm
like
at 4 to 7. Like, you know what I mean? 4 to 7's about fair. Like 5 to 1 on. Right. Let's get back to a few of the heats.
We just say to
No,
Bacchus Crystal about what a smashing bitch she's been. I mean,
she
she's
has, yeah, she does.
runner up in the Derby. She went out there, but like what a smashing greyhound she is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure they'll give her a swan song. I wouldn't say she'll be
Yeah,
retired just yet. Like, again, didn't happen for her. Forced to check up the third bend. And good to see Kiefer Maverick back in fifth spot. He ran his heart out. Like, he does 29.94 in fifth. Like, that would have been easily, if he'd finished fourth, easily enough to get him in as a fastest fourth. So, listen, they came over, fair play to them. And, that's what you want to see. And like, obviously he wasn't the only English challenger we'll talk about others in the future. But well done to Phil Milner and to Keely Cunningham for bringing him over. Listen, it's all about the sport. And listen, I hope they bring him back, baby, on Derby final night, or even decide to run him in the Derby plate, because I saw enough from the other evening to suggest that he could certainly win a race or two around Shelbourne Park. just a few of the other heats on the night. I'll brush through them very quickly, but we do have to mention, because it was a pretty good performance. Clonbrien Juke, a good old pal of ours, Tommy, returned after a long, long layoff. Um, just did things right from the front. He was a big price. I know Robert Gleeson was telling me he backed him. He'd seen him in his trial, in his sprint trial, and was very impressed with the way he moved, and he said I just thought he could get out in front, and he certainly could. He returned 5-1, but a dog who is a classic winner, select stakes winner, English Derby finalist. Yes, he's after a long layoff, but he's had a couple of trials, and when you have an odds-on favourite that was guaranteed to go round at closest third or fourth, it was worth taking a chance on something from the middle. Now it was Clonbrien Juke that got first run, but I would be I I I assume everyone connected to him are just more than happy with this performance.
And you'd have to be, and you'd have to expect that he'd improve a bit again. I mean, his record is unbelievable: 20 wins in what, 31 starts or something like that, and it's a classic winner. Um, yeah, look at it. I thought it's he was drawn on the outside of High Trent, who has massive early pace, and Ballymac Finn in there, and like it wasn't a bad heat. I can understand his price, and he hadn't run since April. So I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't have known what to expect from him when his trials were all sprints and all that sort of stuff. But
Mm.
you'd be delighted if you. I don't know where you can go in terms of Derby. I mean, I'd want to watch two more rounds before I could even begin to gauge that with a dog that's had a break like he has. But he's just a class act, isn't he?
Yeah, Kevin, I assume you agree with all of that.
Yeah, if he was a mad price now, I'll tell you, if he was a mad
Hmm.
price in the outright book, I'd have no problem throwing a fiver each way. And I'm like he's the class. Like,
Yeah.
like now, depending on the price, like, I'd rather take, if he was a massive price, I'd rather take a chance on the price that that he stays in one piece and that everything will be the way. He's a
I,
wonderful.
I, I'm sure Damo and the boys are on top of that. I'm sure he's not as mad a price as he was.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then there you go. But no, look, he's all the talent in the world. I think I made reference to it even in the review. Like, and Tommy's out there making reference to it there. Like his strike rate is ridiculous for a dog running in the competitions he runs in, competing with the dogs he competes in. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, but to see him back was brilliant, and the Derby's only better for those type of dogs, isn't it? So, yeah, I think Graham and everyone connected will be Kevin O'Brien. They'll be delighted with how he ran, and looking forward to next week.
Yeah, we'll have to race through the remaining heats on Friday night. Apologies, we will get to your dog if they keep going, but just there's so much to get through. But I do have to mention Down to Business at 29.66, the same time as Clonbrien Juke in Heat 10. This fellow won. He's been a model of consistency in Shelbourne Park recently. Has some fine form. This was yet another fine performance from him. Bernadette's got him singing a sweet tune at the moment, Kevin. Some shrewd punters were on this fellow. And he certainly made the most of his superior early speed, has to be said, in his heat. Just did everything right.
Ah, yeah, no, and like you said, Bernadette has him absolutely flying at the moment, and like early pace, we say it every derby, like it's a great asset to have, and when things do get down to business, pardon the pun, like if you've got that under in your arsenal, you've always got a chance. And I know everyone has talked, and me included, thinking that this derby, later in the year, conditions are going to get worse. You wouldn't think it today now with the sun here, but I do think that the derby conditions will get worsen. And I did think that initially that you would want a strong running start, but when you've seen all Carrick Aldos, Bombay Pats, and Buckos Diamonds, and Down to Business, and the amount of dogs that did win from the front, just goes to show that greyhound racing, regardless the track, regardless the weather, regardless when it's on, if you lead around the first bend, you're still probably 75, 80% of the way there.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to mention the Murphys in second with Glitzy Magic. Ran an absolute blinder right after Sheldon Park. Ran well in second. Drewby's Carbine back in third. Randolph Scott's was the fourth there. Did he qualify? I think he went through as the fastest fourth. The other two heat winners were Ballymac Danica. Tommy touched upon that. She will improve his sight. She just did everything right from the front. Again, I would say Liam is just more than happy with her. I know he was sort of, I think it was a toe injury they were nursing her back from, and obviously it's taken some time. But if she can recapture the sort of form she showed earlier in the year, she's clearly a big player. You'd be expecting her to go far faster than 29.82, 17.30, 29.82. It looked quicker than that, so we wait to see how she performs next week, but certainly ran well in defeat. Farney Chime was second for Lawrence Jones. Not the first time he'll have one or two in the second or third round of the Derby. He might even go a bit further, like Well Met or this one, Sire, actually, our surprise, of course, who had to be pulled out of a Derby final through injury. And one of the eye catchers of the round was Robbie's Galaxy. Absolutely broadsided the opening corner. The ground he made up to qualify was simply stunning. And then last heat that we are going to mention, because it is the only heat that we haven't mentioned, was won by Magical Sapphire. Magical Sapphire, I thought she was good for faster. She got held up at a couple of points. They were challenged her off the last bend. She kicked again, and she's clear into the escape. Undulation ran a big race in defeat. A lot of people saying Superfast Gordon was the unlucky one in the race, the eye catcher. I thought first, second, and third were all eye catchers. Magical Sapphire, Superfast Gordon, and Undulation. Yes, Gordon was caught in the pocket on a couple of occasions, so loads of pace, loads of power. So too did Undulation. She missed a kick and had to come around dogs, and I thought she ran really well in defeat. And as I said, Magical Sapphire definitely better for faster, shall we say? Anything to add there, gentlemen, on those before we move on?
No, look at the Superfast Gordon was a little bit unlucky in the sense that the High View Splash Dog came out, and well, I hope he's okay. High View Splash Dog had the pace to just get up and across him, went in for the rails early, and it kind of forced him to check a bit. He ran a big race in defeat, but he's better than 29.91, or he did 30.01. He's a lot better than that. So look at he's just I think we found that in previous competitions, um, he can be caught for length of early pace, and that can just get him in that little bit of trouble, a bit like that.
I personally don't think he wants to be in there. I think he wants to be in three or four.
Yeah.
That's my own opinion on the dog. Um, I think I think we called it. I certainly called it to Barry before racing that high view splash. That's what he was going to do. He was always going to come out, go straight to the fence. I just couldn't see how Superfast Gordon could get the run. That was my issue with them. As it was, he show loads of pace in defeat, and I'm sure he'll be a one that people will latch on to the next night. Moving on to Saturday night, just fantastic performances on Friday. Top billing. I put up a poll as regards who was more impressive, Bombay Pat or Buckos Diamond. I haven't checked actually the results of that. Bear with me. Let's move on to Saturday night because it was a brother of Buckos Diamond who set the standard. And bear with me. Sorry. Before let's concentrate on this before we. Did I get the poll? 222 votes. Bombay Pat, 48.2% of the vote was won it. But Buckos Diamond, 38.3%. And Tommy's going, hang on a second, you got 13.5% left there. I said, too tight to call was the other one. So a lot of people sitting on the fence, but when it comes down to it, Bombay Pat, people believe was the more impressive. I am sitting on the fence. I'd take either of them home. Have no fear. Let's move on to Saturday night. 29.19, setting the standard was March on Freddie. We have a UK challenger, as I said in commentary, Tommy, and I felt he left a little bit of time on the track. Thought he scratched a little bit around the opening bend, but I'll tell you one thing. As we said, Kevin, on Saturday night, when he got moving down the back straight and home, he was absolutely powerful. Likewise, Buckos Diamond is blistering early speed into the bend and down the back. This fellow was from the second bend to the home. He was unbelievable. He comes home in 12.11, which is lightning fast. Tommy, it's great to see an English challenger. Congratulations to Dave Mullins and George Watson. It's an important part of the competition. We need this more and more and more. But aside from the angle that he's from England, he's a proper greyhound.
The angle he's from England. I think he's great. I think it's great. There's no point in the best sitting on their benches either side of the Irish Sea, and you know why not come over and take a chance? We go over in our drove for the English Derby. It's pity they want more than one come over here and challenge. March on Freddie's a genuine contender. He had a quicker early section than Buckos Diamond. Then he was slower down to the third bend, and he was nicely quicker home, quite quicker. And it's all like I was impressed by, I'd say, his last 25 yards as much as any part of his race. He seemed to quicken again in the last 25 yards. Maybe it's just a camera thing, or just I don't know, maybe I'm not reading it right, but he's got tremendous pace. If I had one little question mark, and it's only minuscule, he was in the clear. So dogs in the clear, they'll often fill the space, but he did go across to the bend quite quickly at the bend, across to the rail. Sorry. And will that get him in a little bit of trouble in the future? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he only did it because there was space to do it. But that's only trying to find a little tiniest flaw because he's now, a short price to win the Derby, and we're trying to find reasons why he may or may not. I just love the fact that he's a British challenger over here with a genuine chance of winning it. It kind of just gives an extra flavour to it. It'll give it more. It'll give it more press time in the UK. It'll highlight Shelbourne Park a bit more. To me, it's all good things. All good things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Kevin, you've been on the sort of the opposite side. You've gone over with your dad and won two English derbies. JT Jet and Price's Blake. So you know what they're going through as regards their preparation and whatnot. The fact that they are staying with Rachel Wheeler, they're doing it properly. It won't be for traveling now that this dog can get beaten. He seems to have all the talent in the world, and he is a major player.
He is, and he looks made for Shelbourne, doesn't he? Like, he probably he doesn't have the same early as the brother, the Buckos dog, or a Bombay Pat, but in the same breath, if the two of the dogs, if the two brothers hit the bend at the third bend together or close, like it won't be close to the winning line.
No,
Like
stop,
the
no.
march on Freddie dog will run away from the Buckos Diamond dog. So, they are a little bit contrasting that way. So it just comes down to which one you sort of prefer. Like, if you want to go for the early speed, you're going to go with Buckos. If you want the stronger dog, you're going to go for March on Freddie. But as first runs go at a track, like, how do you better it? Like,
Yeah.
like seriously. Like, I know he's had a spin around, like, but like genuinely, I do not know how you look for any more. The one thing, I don't know the dog as well as like yourself, Ian, would follow the UK scene a lot better than I would. I just sort of got the feeling that that wing break that he made mightn't be, that mightn't be there every night. But from where I was, I told you, I watched it the far side, and David was there, and the minute he opened the boxes open, like, whether, I don't think David's probably shouts much at too many races because he didn't let any more shouts, but there was definitely a come on, Freddie, like the minute the boxes open, he flashed out. But he was awesome to watch, and on the British Challengers, like you see over the weekend, the runs of Barntick Bear and Wiki Ned and Rab's dog in these competitions, and you're just like,
Come on over.
come
Come on
on over.
over. Yeah.
Like every one of them dogs that I mentioned, like Wiki Ned, Barntick Bear, Rab's dogs, King Memphis, it's just not coming into my head at the moment. But like every one of them dogs are made for Shelbourne. Like
Yeah.
imagine throwing them in, like like we're not as bad as you all think. So come on over. But
The King Memphis dog is made for Shelbourne.
like
It's such a shame that he hasn't been there.
Yeah, he's a probably a Buckos Diamond, only a railer type
Yeah.
dog. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
look, we have March on Freddie, and we have the Arthur Cornflake dog, and he can go plenty of rounds too, make no mistake about it. But no, a great performance by March on Freddie on Saturday night.
Yeah, the Arthur Cornflake dog ran real hard. I like him. March on Freddie. I'm going to make a bold prediction here, lads. If he's in front at the second bend, there's not a dog in the Derby that'll beat him. The problem is going to get him to the front by the second bend every night. As you say, it will get tougher. It will get hotter. But the fact that his mere presence is such an addition to the Derby. Yeah, great to have him. In second, Miami King and Sid Zafiro back in third. I'm sure connections with Sid Zafiro will be happy. He's been lightly raced in recent times. Had a spell in the UK, taking out a couple of competitions over there. But he's talented, and he'll come on a side for this. Miami King, he's just a good, hard, solid sort of yardstick. I said at the third bend he won't be stopping. When he was 4 down at that stage, he's beaten 7.5. It just goes to show you what March on Freddie was doing home. It was just power packed. Speaking of power, 15 minutes earlier, we saw a certain BoyleSports Bob flying the flag for the Black and Amber boys, and John Boyle and Ned Murphy. I know Ned was there. I heard he was introducing himself to Dawn and a couple of others. Absolutely living the dream with this BoyleSports Bob. He's a proper dog, Kevin. I compared him to the likes of the JT Jets, JT Taylor, those type of dogs. He just, he's a dog, type of dog that your father just has so much success with. Big, strong, galloping greyhound, likes the outside, and like he's singing a sweet tune at present.
Yeah, it's easy to train the fast ones, I suppose, as he'd say himself. But look, he's definitely in the category of the dogs you mentioned. He's every bit as fast as them. He's a real competition dog. Everything we've sort of pointed him in the direction of, he's given a right rattle to. Like, we ran him in the Easter Cup, he made the final. It was never really right or singing in the Easter Cup. His condition didn't really look great, and his coat didn't look well, and he just wasn't really himself. And then he's gone over to England and made the final and ran so well. And his coat now looks better than it ever did during the English Derby. He really looks like he's just coming into a real rich vein of form, and his run 2 weeks ago was outstanding. He's gone and improved that this week, so couldn't be happier with him, to be fair, and not losing sight. Like Short Grip, she's incredible. Like she really is an incredibly talented lady, and if you were looking to back the top bitch markets, I'm sure she's fairly well found at the top end of that betting, which she should be anyway. And she's ran some race. Like she's coming back off a layoff, like she's doing probably 29:40 herself. It was a fantastic run by her, and look, it was great to see Tuono Charlie qualifying back in third as well. I don't think it was any surprise to anyone that the sequence did go, because it was a matter of time, really, dropping them back to four bends. And I admire the connections for doing it. It was a brave call. I think they would have come to terms with that. And I do believe, and I've said this to you in the reviews, I do believe that if there was a better calendar for staying type dogs and sprinter dogs, and more prize money on offer and bigger and better competitions, I think they probably would have stood up at six bends. But I think they, as you said, they probably ran out of road, and it's a fair credit to them to drop down and trip, and to rub shoulders with the elite over four bends, and he done himself proud. And it's going to be very, very hard to knock out the first three. You know, like even if you got a Bombay Pat or Buckos Diamond, like if to one of Charlie's in your heat, like one false step at the start, and you know you're going to be looking over your shoulder at the second bend to see how far away he is, because he is going to be motoring. So yeah, very happy with Bob, but I'd also be very happy with the likes of Short Grip and Tuono Charlie as well.
I made the point. I think Tono Charlie will sharpen up with runs over the four bends, which is naturally going to be the case. And you can do as many trials as you want, but until you're racing in against dogs, he did stay on very, very strongly. And as you say, Kevin, just a touch of luck, and he could easily be in the Derby quarterfinals, and you never know where it goes from there. He's such a powerful performer. But he ran into one the other night, BoyleSports Bob. Like, funny enough, I did the report and all that, but you're just so busy that you never really sort of spotted. But he actually only moved second at literally at the third bend marker where we take the clocks. Like Short Grip was still 3 lengths in front of him at that point, and he wins in 29:25. Like he's the third fastest qualifier of the entire opening round. Excuse me. And he's giving those dogs probably a 4 or 5 length start. You know what I mean? Like it was so impressive from BoyleSports Bob. Short Grip was brilliant in second. She'll come on for us, no question about it. Her speed to that third bend, 17:04, 3:41. It puts her in the mix as far as I'm concerned. And then Tono Charlie, Tommy Etton had on them. Obviously, Tono Charlie sequence has ended, but again, we haven't been shy about mentioning it. I think they made the right decision. Have a go. You know, there's no point in not having a go. Like, sequences are sequences. Like there's no monetary value for it. You can't. There's no trophy that says I've won 20 in a row. But I'll tell you one thing: if you get to the latter stages of a derby, it's something that'll stay with you for a long time too.
And look, if he hadn't already achieved enough for us to be talking about him for a long time, then I don't know what. I'm not sure that him getting the record sequence is going to make much difference in the grander scheme of things. He's a terrific dog. I love the fact that he's a dog that breaks and leads all the way in 750s. And the other night he was hammering home. He was really going hard to the line. Now he wasn't. Importantly, he wasn't catching BoyleSports Bob from the line to the escape. He
I've said
wasn't.
I've said it once, Tommy. I'll say it again. If BoyleSports Bob is in front off the second bend, he's not a dog in the derby. You're going to pick him up.
If they let you put the dog in front of the second bend, you'll probably pick the winner of the derby.
I'm good
Actually, I
like
met a
that.
fella
I
there.
am good. No, I will. I'll tell you what.
Oh
You
no,
give me
no,
that.
no,
I
you're a
will.
legend,
I'll do that.
legend. I bumped a fella stopped me the other day in the car, and he said to me, "Do you fancy happening for the derby?" And I said, "Look, I backed Buckos Diamond months ago, but I said if I was backing something now, the only dog I'd back at the prices would be BoyleSports Bob. He was 16-20 to 1 the other day, and I think that was big value because the pedigree there, that he has the proven form there, and he stays all day. He's a genuine player, genuine
I was only saying to
potential
Kevin
derby
the other
winner.
night, I think he's the most underrated dog in training.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
I was getting that. I was getting that. God,
I
he's
no,
so
I
underrated. He's so underrated.
I genuinely look. Obviously, I'm biased, of course, and I know anytime I pass you, I'm going to stick the boot in. But I do think he's underrated. I do think he's underrated for what he's achieved. Do you know, like he just because he probably doesn't have the early pace, he doesn't have the sexier profile. You know, like a Delari da and all of them dogs. But um, yeah, like I just think he's a fantastic competition dog. Like it takes a fair one to knock him out, and anytime things go wrong, which for Bob, unfortunately, even through the English Derby, on more than one occasion, through no fault, through his own fault by missing the break, he put himself in positions where you're just like, well, that's it, it's over now, he's gone now anyway. Just still found a way to get through. So yeah, very happy with him.
Yeah.
They don't forgive you for not putting him in the top three in
That was
October.
it. That was that. That
He
just
said,
started it.
he sent me a message last week. The disrespect for not tipping between the first three on his comeback run in a hot contest. His first run since Toaster, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Heaven forbid. Excuse me. On to Heat 18. I want to mention the Heat 18 because we had a classic winner coming in as a reserve. There were some logistical issues as regards Pat Buckley's entry. Anyway, Singalong Dolly got into the reserve, surprise, surprise, and by God, she made the most of it. At 3:38, 17:16, 29:39. Again, when she's in front, not too many are going to pick her up either. Cesaro, which went over 600 yards, Kevin. She was razor sharp.
Yeah, but she's got that flash in her though. Like, you know, I think I think she's a brilliant trapper. Probably get outpaced, probably to the third bend in Derby in at this level. But like you said, if she's in front of the third bend, she kicks and she's a strong out again. But she done this in the English Derby as well. I remember her doing a run one night. I can't remember. I meant to look it up after the night with you, but she was in a real ding dong battle with one of ours, I think, as far as I can remember. But she's some talent, and make no mistake, like she can absolutely leave a box. Like the 3:38, visually watching her, it's all of it. You know, like you could tell, like she's absolutely winged out, and she loves these types of competitions. She's exactly what you'd look for. If you're looking in the top bitch market, you could do worse than a few quid each way in her because you know she's strong, you know she'll stay, you know she can be very, very good at the boxes, and she's in the right hands. So yeah, I'd say I'm sure connections are very, very pleased with her.
In the first round of the English Derby, she was beaten 2.5 lengths by BoyleSports. Bob Rails
Yeah,
early pace ran on. He led run in, finished well. So I assume that's the battle
she did
you
it.
were referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a class act. There's no question about it. She's already won a Puppy Oaks and a Cesarowitch, and like she's just a professional. Ballymac Gizmo. This is the first time he's shown something a bit more like himself in Ireland in a while. Obviously, he ran very well in England, got to the English Derby final. Hawkville Blue was third. He didn't get the run that he you would have expected up the inside. And for a dog like that to qualify in third as well as he did, I think it was a big run. Tommy, firstly, Singalong Dolly, but I think the other two deserve a mention.
They do. But Singalong Dolly broke, and the way she can, and Hawfield Blue showed pace into the bend, but just met Singalong Dolly at the wrong time and just forced to check it out. And like you said, ran well to qualify. Ballymac Gizmo will improve. You'd imagine will improve nicely from that run. Hasn't had a lot of running since that was only second run since August. Since August, yeah, trying to improve a bit on it. Has plenty of ability. Um, Not my idea of a Derby winner, but type of dog to be a quarter finalist, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in all those senses. We have to mention Tribal Sid. Um, you know, as I said, three greyhounds have already broken 17 seconds in this derby, which is more than last year's entire derby. Tribal Sid was, one spot off doing so as well. He did 17 seconds dead for the Dubs and Culchie Syndicate. This is going to go down as an astute purchase, shall we say, Kevin. He has terrific early speed. He didn't even take his flying start the other evening, but off at 3:43, 17 seconds, he can certainly, and we've seen him. He has a 16:83 in his card. He's again, you said it earlier on. This is one of those dogs you just need to avoid if you're one of the big guns with the real early speed. Like it's gone to the point where we have to say Tribal Sid is perhaps nearly one of the big guns now.
Oh, he is. Yeah, and he has been for a while now. You know, like he went and won the Tipperary Cup, sort of, and that really kick-started his year, didn't it? He went on to Dundalk and he ran a massive race in the international, and he was doing real good times in the early rounds of the Laurels, and looked for all the world an ideal Laurels type dog, and then unfortunately having getting knocked out of that competition. But this dog's got proper sprinter speed to the third bend, and I said to you the other night, like I think the 17:01 or whatever he did, I think it's up there with possibly as slow as he's going to do to the third bend, bar and trouble, clearly, obviously. But I think this dog would comfortably break 17 seconds in Shelbourne most nights off a level start. That's how good a speedster he is. And like I said to you, the likes of cheap sandwiches, Buckos Diamond, Bombay Pat, those early brute, early paced, wide runners. Like the last two dogs they want on their inside is Carrick Aldo and Tribal Sid, in my opinion. We've got the battle next week with Buckos Diamond and Carrick Aldo, so that'll be one to look forward to. But Tribal Sid, Murty just knows how to train this lad perfectly. He's got the early. Hopefully, with a bit of luck, he'll be there bouncing around the latter stages of the competition.
Yeah, Tommy, an old-fashioned speed merchant. You would have seen him in Curraheen. He came up first time around Curraheen, 3:23, 28:07. The second night, 3:28, 28:01. It's no surprise he was favoured for the Laurels. Obviously, things didn't go to plan down there, but returned on Laurels final night and showed another side to him. Battled to get to the front, and in very, very tough conditions. He's after arriving now up in Shelbourne Park a fortnight later, 29:50, 17 seconds. That'll do. He's one of those dogs you need to avoid if you have an anti-post voucher and perhaps one of the early speedsters.
Yeah, well, unless if you're a wide seed, if you're on the is he's wide, isn't he?
Yeah,
Like that was to my mind killed him in Currien Park, trying to win it from the outside, having to break and be in front. I know the only other wide seed in the Laurels got to the final and ran very well, but he having to do it every night in Currien Park is a different kind of a test. I was impressed with him. Look, I don't think he's going to be a Derby winner, but I was impressed with him the other night. Um, Nothing not to like about the performance. Very reminiscent of the international. Okay, he was picked up that night by a really good bitch, Robert Leeson's, um, but he's getting a bit better too. I think, even though
yeah.
is he 3.5? Is he three and a bit, 3.25?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
he's
He was
he's
late to
June
come. He
21,
was
is he?
late to come to hand anyway. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
he obviously is a. He's what is he a second? He's a second season dog. Obviously enough. Like he debuted in May of 2023, but his form was good, but it was only sort of earlier this year that he really started to take off. Like
Tipperary Cup.
he did a
yeah.
29:04 in Kilkenny. Came to Shelbourne then. Showed pace in a race, but then the following week came back into the 28:25, and you could see that night, like, oh, there's something about this dog. And then, a few weeks later, he rocks up to the Tipperary Cup, and like it was no surprise having seen what he had achieved in Shelbourne Park in a few runs, and even one night in Kilkenny, he showed blistering early speed. He got picked up late, but you knew it was there, and it was through the Tipperary Cup. Then he just seemed to get a real confidence in himself. Then it was on to Dundalk, and then he flew 28:05 in Shelbourne Park. That 29:32 run over 550 yards with that 16:83. Like this dog is serious, serious speed, and yeah, I know what he was purchased for. Like it really is. He was picked up for a song. I know he has plenty of age in his side, but yeah, for the men that bought him, they're going to have some twist out of him. Let's rock on because we have a lot of ground to cover. Sorry, I just want to mention there before I move on from Tribal Sid that all the Southwood Stand gang were there for the draw the other night, Kevin. I had someone had said to me about we were going to record our piece. I said, but listen, there could be 15, 20 people here for the draw. We're not going to be able to talk in front of them all for that long. And there was 15 or 20 people there, but 15 of them were the O'Grady clan, all supporting Southwood Stan, who's in second spot. They came up in a bus, and for them to hang around until it was close to midnight. They were there until waiting for the trap draw, where you could have watched on the phone on the way home.
Yeah.
Fair play to them. They're living the dream. And Southwood Stand goes into the draw. Back in third was Fay Point Harvey. Looking through the remainder heats on the night, Ballybola Jim, Big Jim, as we affectionately know him. Lower the colours of the Laddie Da. Kevin, you've already touched on the Laddie Da. Got stuck in a real pocket up the inside. It was clear off the second bend. He just nowhere to go. He made the decision himself to just switch wide. He just like all of a sudden he's on the inside, and next minute he's out. He's just gone out to the wall nearly to find some room. It was the right thing to do. He qualified in third. Dino's Bay ran a big race in second for Jerry Melia, but Big Jim, as we say, Tommy, he's absolutely flying for Brendan Murphy.
Another smashing dog in great form. Big, strong dog. It's a very, very good performance, but it's nothing more than we've seen from him in recent weeks. Had to battle hard to take the lead out of the second bend. He's something similar in over further than the last couple of weeks. The laddie that actually, when he checked out wide, ran very well. He's obviously he's an English Derby champion, and he has the pace to win an Irish Derby. But what got him knocked out last year is that's nearly reminiscent of what got him knocked out of the semi-final last year. When he came up against a real early pace like the other Kobe, who was in two in the semi-final, he was in one, is that right?
Yeah.
That's where he ran himself into trouble. So he's gonna have a lot of tests along the way, the laddie da. even though he can definitely win an Irish Derby, he definitely has that ability. He's probably short enough considering he doesn't have the pace to probably lead, the rest of those that are near the top of the market.
I think he was nearly sharper this time last year. I think he's a stronger dog now. He looks every inch of 5'7", 600 yard greyhound these days.
If he that, do you fancy him to win a Derby?
I probably wouldn't back him to win a derby now at this point. Last year obviously we were all in. It was we were waving the flag, we were flying the flag, and coming to the semi-finals, trap one, lovely, lovely. We'll do it. This is great, and all of a sudden disaster. But yeah, he's a different greyhound. But as we said, like he owes them nothing. He's an English Derby champion.
Oh no,
Um,
he's
and and,
fantastic.
and
Yeah.
again, we've mentioned a few dogs like him, but he's gonna be very hard to keep out of the frame, Kevin.
Well, I think he's are mad. I think he's are mad throwing in the towel.
Well, we're
I'd
not throwing in the towel now.
no, no. I'm not saying
No.
you're throwing. I'm not
No.
saying you're
Now,
throwing in
don't
the
be
towel.
putting words in my mouth. Oh, I suppose I'm
I'm not saying
underestimating
you're.
him too, am
I'm
I?
not saying
Disrespect.
you're throwing in the towel, but you're not waving the flag you were waving last year strongly. But I'd
Well,
be
we were on last year. We weren't on this year.
well. I'd have no problem having a few quid on him. I think he's going to be a tougher dog to knock out than he would have been last year. I agree with what Tommy's saying and what you're saying, Ian. Last year he had that boom, out, gone, whoosh, where did he go type thing about him. Whether he has that, I don't know, but he did produce it once or twice in Toaster. What he did the other night reminded me of the third round of quarter final at Toaster. And that's what kept him in the Derby. Make no mistake about it. He was in a pocket in Toaster, and for some reason in the third round of quarter final, and switched wide, and then there was trouble on the inside that would have just wiped him had he stayed where he was. But that move that he made that night to move out, but he seems to do that. He seems to make that move a lot more now. That if he thinks for whatever reason it's going to get bottled up on the inside, he's no problem switching wide. And I can't get the English Derby out of my mind. Maybe that's because myself and Bob were busy looking at his rear end going up the home straight. I don't know, but I wouldn't be at all put off by him. We know how brilliant he can be out trap one. He's got one again the next night. Listen, if he starts, make no mistake about it, he'll do 29-20, 29-30. What all the big guns are doing. I'd have no fear whatsoever. And he's just the ultra professional, and he's still definitely my idea of a dog that we'll all have to beat.
Yeah. Could someone please think of the 1 to 5 punters? Could someone please think of the odds-on punters? No, it was forget about the SP. I'm absolutely certain he was a much bigger price at Shelbourne Park than 1 to 5. We'll move on. Untold Dollar. Untold Dollar did 29.55. Kevin, we touched on this the other evening. I don't think there was too many dogs in the Derby would have won. Finding the traffic is the wrong term. Like he didn't take a balk or anything like that. He was forced to check in the first corner, forced to check in the third bend, but to get back up to win in 29.55, there's no question the engine is there. He's loads of pace. I have a feeling that there was a bit of debate as regards if we're going to reseed him or not, but he's stuck with an inside. He is racing from trap 3 the next night. I think that's probably is his draw. But he's huge pace, this fellow. And when he does get it right, I think he's going to do a hell of a run.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like the run the other night was a 29, 20, 29, 30 run, whatever. Like you said, there was no real major trouble he encountered, but there were real momentum killers, is what I put him down to. Like, going into the first bend, he's had to check, and again down around the bottom two bends, he's checked up again, and to still come back and battle and get up. I was very taken by that performance, and I know you tipped him up, so you are biased towards him, but if he did follow in with him, I think I'd be a lot happier post Saturday night than I was going into it. I know he ran well previously and done a 29-30 odd. I was more impressed with the run on Saturday night than I was with the other runs. Like it can be quite easy for these good dogs to pop out and dictate and do the time, but the night that it goes wrong, I think you see a real test of a dog, and he passed with flying colours on Saturday night.
Yeah, Tommy, he's a fast greyhound. He'll need to do things right going forward, but at the moment it's all systems go.
Yeah. I thought for me now, as being just being hypercritical in terms of trying to find a Derby winner, I would be concerned about his trapping and what he's going to do one to the next. He has a 320 in Curry Park, which is like
Mm.
it's about 5 or 6 spots off the record. Is that sort of, I don't know what the record exactly is. It's probably 315, 314, something like that. Like that's a huge one. the rest of his record says, it's hit and miss. Did he like he didn't find trouble spots? You both said it right, but was it a lack of crucial tactical pace that got him into the trouble that he got, or the little bit of crowding? Now, Glengar Martin, we've talked about her umpteen times over the last couple of years. What a smashing bitch she is, and she's capable of big runs. She's capable of better than 29.55 or 29.56 she did. So there's no shame in being beaten being beaten by her, or being forced to kind of, have a race with her, a real tough race. She swung wide and gave him a gap up the inside of the last bend, which was crucial to win the race. But I just I just wonder, is he going to be a dog that's going to replicate that 320 in Shelbourne Park, and make that 320 into the equivalent of a 335, 337, 38? Is he going to do that? He has to do that to compete in this derby, or else or else if he doesn't do that, he'll be one of those dogs that'll his derby will peter out at about the third round, and we just he was in the derby. That's the way it'll be. He'll have to sharpen up there. Have to.
Yeah, he's definitely a work in progress. Like he has plenty of racing. Don't get me wrong. He was an early season star. Like we saw him winning down in Clonmel, the plate competition of the unraced. He went to the UK, won the Monmore Puppy Cup. He won I think it was a whole Puppy Cup as well. But came back to Ireland then. Couple of decent, well, that hell of a run in Cork, as Tommy's alluded to, 27.93. But then sort of was just hit and miss, and went back to
Yeah.
England for a crack at the Select Stakes, and was just, he's after winning two now at Shelbourne Park, and the 550 at Shelbourne Park could be the key to him. It is worth pointing out he was led in both occasions, and that's where you wonder, can he find the trapping boots? Because if he finds the trapping boots, he probably does have the early speed to hold the good dogs into the opening corner, but he's going to have to trap. Like he can't afford to miss the kick and race up like the others do, like the likes of the Bombay Pat or Buckos Diamond and others. He's going to need to find those trapping boots and get to a situation where he's doing a 340 pretty consistently. But if he is,
Yeah, look,
he definitely has to pace down the back straight and home.
yeah, look, the only reason I'm being hypercritical is that he's 20 something to one to win a derby, which means you're fancied. You know what I mean? You're not a 500 to one chance and no hoper.
That's Ian's fault,
Um,
by the way.
Not sure about
yeah,
that
yeah,
now.
it
Not
is.
sure
Yeah,
about that.
but there's loads of ability there. There's loads and
Yeah.
loads of ability there. But like the problem is a derby is searching. It's really tough. You've got to do it over 6 weeks, and on his record, you'd be saying, I don't know, can he do it? So you're taking a bit of a chance. To my mind, he's too short in the 20s sort of prices at the moment, because I think he has a bit more to prove. To be a genuine derby contender, and he's priced at the moment as if he's a contender.
Yeah. We'll move on. E21 on the card was won by Nocky and Dazzler. Just want to give a brief mention, lads. I think we're probably all in agreement that there's plenty more to come from this fellow. Pacquiao Foyle wouldn't have had him overcooked. He doesn't have him all that long, of course. The student, Daniel O'Reilly, is now giving him to a teacher. I like that. Daniel is obviously concentrating on his studies and leaving cert this year. So it's now Pacquiao Foyle's job in getting him through a derby. He didn't blow me away, it has to be said. I think he can go up faster. He's definitely going to need to go faster, but we know just how good he is on his night. So, expect better to come from Tommy.
A very, very slight little kind of slip on the first bend, I would say, might have cost him a little bit of momentum and all that. Nothing wrong with the performance. I would think that if you were looking on the positive side, you say, there'd be a bit more improvement from the run. But we know that there has to be. We know that there has to be, because he's not getting home that strongly. Maybe he will, maybe he'll improve in that department. I don't know. But I mean, again, look, he was a great story earlier in the year for Daniel O'Reilly winning the Kirby Memorial. I mean, he doesn't owe them an awful lot after that, winning an 80,000 pound competition. He's he's not my idea of a derby winner, but I would like him to progress deep into the competition.
Of all the early pacers we've talked about, and they're all wide seeds, he's the one that where if he's led, you know, he could be in danger. He could be in danger of slipping out of the
Fabulous.
frame. You will have a likes of let's say he's drawn in some night and against a BoyleSports Bob or a Tono Charlie or something that's Lamarche on Freddie, even something that's really motoring from the second bend, and he happens to have an early pacer like a Droopy's Metaphor or something that gets out in front of him, or a Seven Beach or something like that. He very quickly could just find himself in a spot of bother. He's going to need to be at his very sharpest going forward. I think there's no question about that. Kevin?
Yeah, I was just I suppose not disappointed with the overall clock because I did think he'd probably need to run and come on for the run. I just thought it was third bend clock, but to my eye it didn't look that way. Like visually, I thought, oh God, like I looked to the third bend clock before it ever came up, expecting to see 16:98. Like he looked like that. I
Yeah.
can't remember what it was now, but it wasn't even close. I don't think to the 17 seconds. So yeah, it was a strange one. I thought the runner up ran a cracking race. We're
Yeah.
talking about UK challengers Arthur Conflict, a dog I knew very little. Very
Dapper Rupert in his former life. I really liked him. He ran the first round of a 575 yard competition, or it might have been a dual distance actually, but he only ran the first round of 575. Did a 31:06 on a night when the track wasn't flying.
mm.
It was a hell of a good run, and he looked a really nice dog. He was obviously sold to the UK, and well done to Pat Godfrey for bringing him over. He's been running very, very well around Monmore. He's a real strong runner. You know, he is a 575, 600 yard greyhound, but again, he could make the frame once or twice, and who knows where things will go from there. But no, just great to see him performing so well in the opening run. Well done to all involved. We're going to race through the remaining heats, and again, apologies if we don't get to give your dog a good mention, but there's just so much ground to cover. The first heat won by Dealish Nora for John McGee and John Porter. This daughter to be Sydney just knows what it's about. She was left with a load of space in the middle of the track with three Phoenix Memphis going straight inwards. He crowded up the likes of Castle Ivy Ginge and Ballymac Briar. I thought Castle Ivy Ginge ran a big race in the feet. She had loads of pace down the back straight. Dealish Nora kicks again off the last bend. I thought Ballymac Briar, sneaky one. I thought he ran very well for a dog who we've seen flying out and leading in nights like 28:25, 28:05 in Shelbourne Park. On this occasion, didn't get things his own way. Looked like he was going out of the competition. He was passed by a couple of dogs down the back or off the second bend when he had lost his momentum, but he got going again. Big run from him. Just don't sleep on him going forward. We've mentioned Tribal Sid. Excuse me. We're just going to keep racing here until we come across them. Mustang Fever. God, she's a real little star for Pat Guilfoyle, Paul Horrigan and Sean Burke. Nearly an absolute fairy tale success for Croker's Rocket on the outside. In my mind, would have been the biggest priced Derby Heat winner I can ever remember. He was. I'm not sure what he was returned. I remember looking
50.
at the exchange. He was 110 on the exchange. He's
Returned
50 to
50, I think.
1.
Yeah.
50 to 1. He's beaten ahead. And like like it's ahead, but I'll tell you one thing, after a yard after the line, he's probably in front. It was one of those. Mustang Fever ran well, though. She ran gutsy. Grange Clare Lady, she just simply doesn't get home. Now she can go up faster than she did the other evening. She set a strong gallop. She's only her neck back in third spot. She'll need to be off the front every night if she's to get any further. Scooby the Boss qualified back in fourth. There's a big run in him. It just hasn't happened yet. He needs to sharpen up at boxes. We mentioned Untold Dollar. Clonfert Annie. Great to see John Young with a good winner. Kevin, it wasn't until the next day where we spoke about this on the night, and I said, "Yeah, it was just great to see her. I've been following her, and I have. I actually contacted the man about her a couple of weeks ago and said, listen, just make an inquiry. You never know." But Clonfert Annie, if you actually look back at it, she came from well off the pace. Like this lady was well off the pace. She gets up to win in 29:91, picking up Born to Perform, who has been reseeded. So is Scooby the Boss, actually. Born to Perform has been reseeded. She threw away a bit of ground, sort of drifting off in various parts of the contest. Bonkers and Yonkers showed loads of pace, but this is about Clonfert Annie. From where she came, she had no right to win. She did win. Well done to John Young.
Yeah, it was a strange race. I said, like the Born to Perform lady, she hit the front two or three times. You thought she was going to win the race at least two or three times, I thought. And then Clonfert Annie just came in and mugged her really off the last bend. Like even when Born to Perform drifts off the last bend, she just leaves the perfect gap there. And Clonfert Annie was absolutely rattling home. Bonkers and Yonkers showed plenty of boot into the third bend, but once he didn't lead, and at least at that point, he was always going to backpedal a little bit from that point home. So, yeah, fair play to Clonfert Annie. She never gave up the ghost and challenged laid up the inside to get up on the line. But Born to Perform, the change of seating, I think should help her, because if you backed her, I'd say you were pulling your hair out, because you definitely thought you were going to win the race at least once or twice.
She was still third, and still probably a couple of lengths off the leader when she was she made the decision to switch sides, because Born to Perform was just starting to drift off the last bend, and she made that decision to cut back in the inside, and it was a race winning maneuver. Just a nice winner, Tommy. Great to see someone like John Young having a winner in the Derby.
Yeah, there was it's good old school racing. A lot of tracking involved in winning that race. You say it was 1,000,000 to 1 going down the back, to be honest about it. But the way she picked her way through and picked up Born to Perform later on, lovely performance.
Yeah, massive performance. Born to Perform was sent off I think it was a crazy short price. I think this was one
47.
of the ones. This was the ones that really sort of stood out to me. 4-7. You know, I think I sort of after sort of the reserve went in, I sort of thought in my head she'd be about an even money chance, 11-10 maybe, but like 4-7. It just seems very, very short. On to Heat 24, won by In Good Time. Brendan Mansell always has a decent type around him. Well, In Good Time, he's a track record holder. He's some great provincial form, and this was probably his best ever run at Shelbourne Park. You know, obviously there was plenty of talk of the two outside runners, Black Eyed Turbo and Deadly Choice. They both have huge engines, a bit of traffic for Black Eyed Turbo. Deadly Choice did what Deadly Choice does. He missed the kick, he flew, he runs on very strongly. Just buyer beware is what I will say as regards Deadly Choice. He's an eye catcher, but I wouldn't be going in unless he was a huge price. He's not the type of dog I'd ever back. Deadly Choice, but there's no question he's an engine, and he's the type of dog could knock out, you know, one or two of the bigger names that don't happen to get around in front, because you know this fellow will be rattling home on the outside and probably avoiding traffic. And if you had one that was sort of a bit vulnerable in the closing stages that didn't get to the front, he's not a dog you want to see in your heels off the second bend. Back in third there was Bartleby Cop for Kieran Lynch. Is She There was a good winner for Rosemary Price. She's been running very well at Shelbourne Park in recent times. We were all expecting Romeo Taylor to set a strong gallop. He completely fluffed his lines, just couldn't really get involved. Showed a bit of pace into the bend, but just couldn't get to the front, and that was him. Goose was cooked. Down the back straight. Is She There managed to get around in front. Quarry Boy took her, but she came back again. She rallied to the cause to win in 29.83. Just a good success. I really liked it. Quarry Boy, Prince Nassim progressing there as well. Big fan club for Prince Nassim on the night. Great to see the Hefferons with Quarry Boy getting through. As we said, Kevin, they always seem to find one. Country Legend was an old pal of ours. They had an old stayer as well. I can't remember him. He didn't win. I think he went 13-0, and they turned down all sorts of offers to buy him. But he was a good dog, even though he wasn't the most prolific. But I can't remember his name. And then the last heat, we'll leave the last heat to last. I suppose we have to give a minute or two to this race.
Let Tommy sum it up.
Yeah,
Let
I think
Tommy sum it up.
let Tommy, you sum up the last heat.
Why are you trying to trouble? Look at she was 3/4 length up Crafty Shuv when she went across it. It just seemed very strange. Like you're not fighting with a dog when you're going across the track 3/4 length or length up on top of the dog. It just seemed to be a very weird incident that I wasn't expected to happen.
I think they just sort of. I think his front legs caught her back legs, and she's turned sideways. And
I think
then
look at I think a dog.
It's actually harder to see on the screen. The screens in Shelbourne Park, it's much clearer, shall we say? And we're both of the opinion that she did nothing wrong. Now, obviously, not a wing got involved, but you know.
Well, I don't ever watch races up where Ian stands, but given that this was the last race, I knew we were doing our talking afterwards. Yeah. So I actually watched the race on the balcony up high. Like, of all the races, I couldn't have probably stood there for a better race. So the view I had of it, like, I've never had a view like that of a race really before. And he did, for whatever reason, whether she moved off the line or whatever, that's come from Cork back to Shelbourne, whatever. She didn't go out to him, but she just held her line or whatever, and he came in. So the two of them came together. And at that point, when he got up on her back legs, it turned her, and she twisted into him. It's only my belief. I don't believe there's a bad bone in Crafty Shuv's body. Now, maybe I'll be made to look silly in the future or whatever happens. I was absolutely crestfallen for her and the connections, because I'm not saying she went on and won a derby, but I do think that the competition would have been better for her. And for me, Cheap Sandwiches broke in front of her, and she absolutely. Now, I know she's got good early, but I've never seen. I thought that was her best ever. She'd gone to the bend. Like, she just took off. And for that to happen,
she fairly flew in the Laurels final to lead Romeo Taylor after the start he made was fairly impressive.
Yeah. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, I've seen it 1,000 times standing on the sidelines and soccer matches over the last few years with the kids. It's like when a fella's had the ball and he's running in front, right? And a lad clips him from behind. And you can't, while you're still going with the ball, you turn around and say, F off. And it's very much like that. Yeah. Like, she was minding her own business until she got clipped. And I don't think that to be honest about it, I'd be in agreement here. I don't think she did a lot wrong. I mean, he caught her a couple of times, and it's like having a response. Like there's somebody pushing you, like you kind of gone. She was 3/4 of a length up. She had no intention of doing it. Nobody fights with what's behind them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I actually think Cheap Sandwiches ran a
I have to tell you,
remarkably
Todd. I
good
have to
race
tell
as
you,
well.
Tommy. You should watch the bags racing in the mornings. A couple do. um, let's
I
let's
haven't
let
time
let's
for that,
just
Ian. I
let's
haven't
just
time for
mention
that.
let's just mention she actually ran a remarkable race afterwards. She moved into fourth, and I said into a qualifying position. Now, what I meant was with a chance of qualifying
Yeah.
was what I meant to say. But Cheap Sandwiches actually finished second. Like he ran a huge race. Like this dog has been flying. We know he loves Shelbourne Park, the 550-yard run. And while Crafty Shuv did probably show more early speed than him into the opening bend, I don't think that's a slight on him. I think he's a player in the Derby. But again, a lot of these fast dogs are going to be battling for that striped jacket going forward. Like all of a sudden, I think there was 99 inside Cs in the first round. There's considerably less in the second round, whereas not too many of the wide seas have gone out. A lot of those wide seas are still there. They're going to be battling for a bit of room going forward. Chief Sandwich is running a big race, but we haven't even mentioned the winner here, Medina Puma. He was left second. Ballyhimick and Leo led them into the back straight, but Medina Puma cut him down and did so in fine style, took it up around the last two bends and went on to score pretty comfortably in the end from Cheap Sandwiches, who did run very, very well. But Medina Puma, we didn't mention him. He won at 20-1. It was a good run by the winner, but I think it's safe to say he was slightly fortuitous.
He was, yeah. Like, look, the race completely changed at the first bend, and yeah, Cheap Sandwiches ran some race to get back involved. Like Ballyhimick and Leo, like when he let down the back, like he's a fair dog, and he won Laurel's final like down in Cork in impressive fashion as well. So he's clearly in good form for Billy Dunn, but um. Like for Cheap Sandwiches, I know Medina Puma picks him up, but for Cheap Sandwiches to even to get back past Ballyhimick, he's run a remarkable race to finish second. But yeah, look, it was just one of those. It was just one of those strange races, and it's I'm not connected to Crafty Shuv, but I really was devastated as she went out because I thought she was just the pace she showed into that opening corner was sensational, and I think it was a race and incident, and as a result, she's out of the Derby already.
Yeah, heartbreaking, heartbreaking. Gentlemen, that's 26 heats. We actually did touch upon every one of the 26 heats. I think we did a good job. Any overall theme, anything you want to touch upon, Tommy? Anything that struck you from the racing on Friday and Saturday night, other than it's going to be hard to Derby to win?
It's gonna be hard Derby to win. They're never an easy one. I did find it hard to kind of to reconcile between the two nights. I find that is always the way I think Shelbourne Park can change, and I know do a great job of maintenance and like any track, but like from any track really, it can change a lot from one night to the next. And the conditions at the moment, particularly when we're getting weather warnings, which seem to be every Saturday at the moment, you just don't know what you're kind of getting. So reconciling them won't be possible. I think it'll take a couple of rounds before we actually tie them all together and have an idea. Even next week will give us obviously a better idea, but by the time we get to one night, that's the only first time that we really tie together what we've been seeing. It's an exceptionally good derby in terms of there will be times. The track has been fast. There've been loads of sub 28-second runs this year, and there will be faster, huge runs. And the 16:80, whatever the record is, down to Turbine, that'll be beaten by the end of this derby, I would imagine, conditions allowing, obviously. I'm just looking at a few things there. I know. Kevin made a point about he still thinks that the laddie da might be one to beat. Like, it's a funny one. You've Callaway Kinnegar at 14-1. You've the laddie da at 14-1. Like, there's only one of them you'd back at that price, isn't there? I mean, it has to be the laddie da at 14s. If you're picking one of them, and what I would say is if you're going to go in there, and have a look among the anti-post markets, you'll definitely find value. You might find a bit beyond the very top of it, because Buckos Diamond is 4-1, 4-1 to win a derby, and I know we all think he's explosive and he might be exceptional, but then March and Freddie might be exceptional, Bombay Pat might be exceptional, BoyleSports Bob is proven already, and he's in around about the 12-1 chance, 3 times the price of Buckos Diamond. So look, you can still take a strong opinion on the derby, on the markets themselves, and say, I think that might be wrong or that might be right, if you know what I mean. That's and go with it. So there's still a bit of value to be found in it.
The
I
Derby
think the
market,
carry.
the Derby market ahead of the opening round was so top heavy that I found myself looking down the list at 33, 40, 50, 66, even to 100, going, "God, that's value, that's value, that's value, that's value, that's value," because so
Well,
much percentage was taken up by the first few. You're talking about each way value. You're talking about if things go their way and maybe one or two of the big guns get knocked out. The longer the big guns stay in at the head of the market, and so very few of them were knocked out, that all of a sudden that value doesn't seem to be value anymore because you're going, well, I don't know how they can find a way to beat these six dogs.
well, I'm just looking here now, and I hadn't realized this by the time we were talking about it a bit earlier on, but the laddie dad is bigger now than he was at the start, which is that's that's good. At least somebody's reacting the right way, or at least giving punters who are of Kevin's opinion a chance. And I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, he's 14-1. That's very close to a backable price in my mind, and I still think that like there's a potential that he could get knocked out by a lack of early pace if he comes into a hotter heat, but that's probably rounds away down the line before you think he's even has a chance of getting knocked out because at
You,
the
you,
moment his
you're
pace
you're
is.
off. You're often talking about these dogs as well, though. That the likes of the Laddie Da and Callaway Kinnegar, like they are sometimes better off in hotter company. There's less dogs going to get in their way around the opening two bends, while the proper, like, proven trackers with the brilliant early speed, they can go off on the outside, and the likes of a Deladdy Dan and Callaway Kinnegar can then track them in behind, getting a clearer passage. Whereas, dogs that are just not quite up to Derby standard are there in their way at the moment.
Yeah, well, look, you know that from talking to me for the last number of years on this that I talk a lot and about a dog
You
relative to
talk a
what I
lot,
think.
yes, you do definitely talk
Yeah,
a
but
lot.
I talk I talk a lot relative to what look at I'm trying to look ahead in the competition the whole time. So I'm not running down Untold Dollar. It might have sounded like it there a while ago, but I'm just trying to think, price wise relative to what he is. Like Callaway Kinnegar can still win a derby, right? He's obviously got to get back to his sharpest, and he's got he's entitled to improve a little bit as well, as continue to improve. But at the moment, you've got a proven dog who's 14-1, the laddie that and Callaway Kinnegar is 14-1 as well. I mean, you can only take one of them. And actually, if you want to factor in BoyleSports Bob there, he's 12-1. He's effectively almost the same price. I mean, you've got Callum Kinnegar's got a bit to prove at the moment. So I'm only talking about looking at stuff in terms of value. I'm on Buckos Diamond at 12, 10s and 9s, I think. I can't remember. And they're not even massive prices. I missed the 25s. And I wasn't even bowled over when I had the last bet on them a good while ago. I wasn't even bowled over by the 9-1. It was kind of a stupid bet. And for a fellow who talks about value, I would doubt myself having any idea at all because I was taking that price at that stage and even 6 rounds. I mean, he's a dog is 4-1 to win a derby, and yet we've seen in his last 3 runs, we've seen that he can show unmerciful early pace, but he can also miss it completely as well.
Yeah,
That's
but
that.
listen, at the same time, let's say if Bombay Pat had missed the kick even more, or had found a bit of traffic in the corner, and March on Freddie hadn't produced what he did, like you could be talking about him being 5-2. That's like that would have been scary. You know what I mean?
Look, I think look when it boils down to it. When it boils down to the latter stages, the semi-finals, the derby, I wanted at least 4 of the top 6 in that 12 for a quality derby because there are dogs down there I could say to you I think has a chance of being in a semi-final of a derby, but I don't want them in a derby final because I want the best possible derby final.
Yeah. Kevin, anything to take out of it?
Yeah, the thing for me with the other night was when they called out the insides, the middles, and the wides that they always do. I don't remember the ratio ever being already as 2-1. Like there was 50 something insides and 24, 25 wides. I've never known it that already at this stage, the discrepancy in that, because there's always way more insides than wide. So
Well,
like
Boyle Sports went 8-13 a wide seed winning it before the competition. It has to be 2-1 now, doesn't it?
shorter.
Yeah.
So like you've got Buckos Diamond, Bombay Pat, March and Freddie. So you've got the top probably four in the betting all wides.
Yeah, Boyle Sports Bob.
And like the thing about it is they're all not guaranteed to stay apart, but like the way the draw work, the wides are like there's a better, stronger chance of being kept apart. So
Yeah.
I would say if you're getting
Se
two
seven
con
seven beach tribal says Carrick Aldo.
yeah,
You can go on and on and on.
I'd say that your two's on is probably no chance. I'd say it's probably an awful lot shorter than that.
Yeah.
The point that I'm making that I will go back to was that there is so many wides now. It's like we normally talk about like we always seem to have a wide seed, but there's normally only about 8 or 10 of us in there. But like now there's an awful lot of them, and And that'll work both ways because if, like I've said already, if you did have a Buckos Diamond, Bombay Pat, Cheap Sandwich, all them tribal Sid, like there's 5 or 6 of them, all very similar mold. Now I'm not saying they're all the same level of ability, but they're similar molded to the corner. Now, I don't know how they're going to figure it out going around because these are genuine wide seats. There's not one of them that you look and go. Now I know that Buckos Diamond Dog they tried the middle on him and whatever, and he ended up in 2. But for me, like he does sort of prefer to be out there, and he does
Yeah,
pace well from out there.
I think they've made the right decision with that. Gentlemen, just if you had to have a bet now, Tommy, forget about prices. Just pick the Derby winner. Actually, forget about prices. Just pick
Oh,
the Derby winner.
I can't forget about prices. I never can. I look
Right.
at, I look at, I wouldn't back Buckler down to 4 to 1 or 9 to 2 best or whatever he is, but I'm on him at a
Better
okay
price.
price.
Yeah.
Okay
Kevin.
price. Yeah, I'm not bowled over by it.
Kevin.
Bob,
Good man. I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I should have. Do you know
Bombay
what?
Bob, is it? Oh, sorry.
I've long been saying he's a very disrespected greyhound. Like he's the most
I know you
underrated dog
have,
in
yeah.
training, Tommy. You know
You
me.
keep saying, yeah, but, I mean, who
I'm a
did
fan.
Barry called it?
Imagine Kevin telling me of all people about sexy profiles and early speed. Have you ever seen me as regards early speed? What do I want, Tommy? I want
Yeah.
stairs. I want strong
Right.
runners. They're my bread and butter.
Yeah.
You should have told him that the Barry called at the top of the card that night. Tell you what,
Yeah.
you'd be all friends now.
He throws Barry in it for enough anyway. Well, Barry,
Oh, that was Barry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Barry. Gentlemen, just want to touch on a couple of other things before we finish up. Like, obviously, we don't have much time. Westway Rossa and Drombeg Pearl were good winners in the semi-finals of Fona's Galway Oaks on Friday evening. Actually, Westway Rossa for Damien McGinn and Henry Skimia. She actually started her debut her career in Shelbourne Park. She showed plenty of promise. She actually ran up against the likes of Sid Zafiro and Magical Sapphire in a few of her first starts. Won her debut in 28.76. She's lightly raced. She's only just gone 2 years of age. But she won in 28.84 the other evening, leading on the opening bend to beat Julie's Gem, who of course was in that debut against Dynamic Force against the likes of Buckos Diamond and them. And Airfield Katie was back in third. And the other heat was won by Drombeg Pearl. We've mentioned it before, but Evan McAuliffe, like he gets some twist out of his dogs. Young Evan McAuliffe, he must be about 17 now at this stage. I think to be called him young Evan McAuliffe a long, long time. He'll nearly be able to drink legally. I will have to stop calling him young Evan McAuliffe. But no, he's flying and his bitch is flying. 28.96, very quick away, always led. And I think that sums it up perfectly. The wonderfully consistent Annie on Fire was second, and Omi Missed for Jerry Holian was back in third spot. That final of the Galway Oaks will take place on the weekend. Also, the semi-finals of the Fair Warrior were on Sunday afternoon at Mullingar. It's actually must be a lovely sort of time to have the Mullingar, like after the Derby and all that. People can sort of just rest back, concentrate, and enjoy some quality racing in the Droopy Stud Fair Warrior. The opening heat went to our great pal Road Exile. I see another firm have priced it up, Kevin, 4 to 9 for the final Road Exile. He'll want to be doing things right because Zippy Canning is on his immediate outside. He cut inwards in the second heat and cut off Pavilion Fire, the defending champion, who was forced to sort of check his stride at the opening corner. He ended up going out of the competition. And Manalishi Jet from the outside made the most of his draw, winning in 21.50. And the other qualifiers there, Road Exile beat Born Racer, who's a big player from Trapwood in the final. Kaleshal Ranger was in third. And then Manalishi Jet beat Zippy Canning and Scarborough Fair. Another dog with good early speed. I think he's in 2 in the final. But that's a cracking final of the Fair Warrior, sponsored by the Droopy Stud on Sunday at Mullingar. One more before we go. You're obviously very pally with Robert Gleeson, Kevin. He's got a very talented young lady owned by a certain Dylan Brown McMonigal. She looks the real deal, doesn't she?
she was very impressive. The first night she was, like she was very very impressive. But like what she done the other night, then like what month is she? What is she? May, June?
Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah,
Like
she's very young.
she's
She's very young.
she might even be younger. So I'm telling me, but like I think she's only about 16 months old, and she's out here doing these sort of runs already. Now look, she's obviously come from a great line, and we're I suppose we're almost used to these, Droopy's ladies coming out and just being one better than the other, like Mandolin, and the list goes on and on and on. But she looks of the highest quality, and look, given her owner, I'm sure plenty of thought went into to picking her, and she's well found because Yeah, the world is her oyster. She's going to be eligible for all the puppy oaks. I think she's at. I actually think she's that young. She might be eligible for both puppy oaks. The latter end of this year and the one at the start of next year. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
you're
she
right.
actually will
May
be.
23, yeah.
She's May 23. Yeah, she looks special.
Yeah.
When I was caught up with him on Friday or on Saturday night, just said to him, like, the derby's on, and I'm talking to him about Drewby's Kathleen. I think that sums it up. I said you knew for a while she was pretty special. The night she did her 18:55 sprint, the Droopy's deploy dog he has as well had qualified in 28:50. He ran that night, and I said this deploy dog tonight must be good. He goes, yeah. He said the bitch I trialed tonight beat him 7 lengths to win a trial. And he said to me the other evening, he said, she's she said I've trained and I trained some great bitches. He said this is the best, and that's enough for me. I think she looks an absolute worldy. Tommy, I don't know if you got a chance to look at her, but
I did, yeah.
she's still raw. Like she's still not doing things
She's
100% right. Like there's loads of room. Like this is a 2780 bitch. I know the track is flying and all, but Jesus, like she could definitely do it.
Yeah, and her like she's trying to find her stride into the bend, and the fact that she was able to get by them into the bend so easily, and then move off a little bit and still do 28 or whatever it was, 03. I don't know where the ceiling of her ability is, but like she's smashing 28 seconds probably next time, and doing it numerous times in the future.
Yeah, she did 1597. Like, that's serious running. That's serious running. Right, gentlemen, I've got to go. I've got to drop a child who's going to Crow Park to watch a match. The same child won her own championship yesterday, so she's delighted. Hence, I'm a little bit hoarse. You can forgive me for that. But that's it. We have a wonderful, wonderful BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby to look forward to, and we are experiencing that
One
present.
second
It's
now.
just
You asked me
sensational.
to pick my dog. You asked Tommy to pick his, but you never gave yours.
Yeah. Uh,
Come on.
well, listen, I've tipped up Untold Dollar. I have a couple of investments in the competition. I'm on Bombay Pat at 33-1. I don't think I'll be siding away from Bombay Pat. Now it's not for huge money, but you know. I'm happy with that. I won't be trading it in anytime soon. Obviously Buckos Diamond is a very, very worthy Derby favourite. He's 10 in a row. He just looks a class act. He has all the pace and ability in the world. But I think this Derby is going to throw up a few surprises in the next few weeks, and they can't all progress. All these wide seas they're going to eventually meet, and something's going to have to give. So there's no room for error. I wish Bombay Pat was a better starter. I'm sure they'll be doing all they can to get him out of boxes, but if they don't trap, they don't trap. He can't afford to be doing that against the likes of a Buckos Diamond or a Carrick Aldo, Tribal Sid. These dogs, he's going to need to find his trapping boots, even just improve a length. He doesn't have to do with flying starts, but if he improves his starting a length, genuinely track allowing, there's a 28.98 in him. Like the track record could potentially go. I didn't think I'd be saying that. From what I've seen thus far in this derby, I wouldn't be surprised if something did at 28.98. Again, conditions low, but Bombay Pat I'll stick with because, as I've said, I've got a decent enough price. Now, there's the trumpet. Enough from me. That's it. The BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby will continue at Shelbourne Park on Friday and Saturday night. Worth saying, great backdrop. The new Shelbourne Park has been greatly received by all. A lot of UK visitors over the weekend, and they were blown away by the place. It is a wonderful place to watch racing. So make sure you journey to Shelbourne Park in the coming weeks for the remaining action, the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. My thanks again to Kevin Hennessy, the child as he was once known. Not so much anymore. He looks more like a young adult. And to Tommy Lyons, the exile dub, who is promising to make a journey to Shelbourne Park before the end of this classic. But that's it from us on this Monday evening. Best of luck to anybody with a dog left in the derby. You still have time to dream.